Imagine having your greatest passion in the world almost end you. 1 second you're there, the next you're not. The dream you have chased your entire life crumbling away right in front of your own eyes. Right when you were finally playing your best and establishing your name, everything fell apart. This nightmare became a reality for Raul Jimenez, the Mexican football player that literally had to resurrect his career and forge his way back from the ICU to the starting lineup. Let's follow the path of one of the most passionate and resilient players I have ever seen. This is the story of Raul Jimenez. It was May 5th, 1991 in Tepeji, Hidalgo, Mexico, where Raul Alonso Jimenez Rodriguez was born. At a very young age, it was quite obvious that Raul was destined for football, as the little youngster always had a ball attached right to his foot, and he would spend hours in the streets playing with the other boys in the neighborhood in Mexico. But Raul's family was no stranger to football, as his father had spent his time in the minor leagues in Mexico, and everything would pay off in attending the academy at Club America, one of Mexico's most legendary clubs. Raul quickly became the club's most promising youngster and earned himself his professional debut on October 9th, 2011, and just a couple weeks later, he scored his first goal on October 30th, in a loss to Puebla. Raul would have a slow start to his pro career until the 2012-13 season, where he would earn a starting spot at the club after Vicente Vuoso would be sold, even being given the number 9 shirt. With the starting role finally his, Jimenez would come alive and the goals were flowing in, as he would help America become the league champions. The following 2 seasons, Jimenez would maintain his form, but America would fall out in the finals twice, to León and Santos Laguna. The 2014-15 season would be his final at Club America, and at the end of the season he would play his final match for his boyhood club on August 9th, 2014, leaving after 96 appearances and 36 goals. On August 13th, 2014, Raul Jimenez would reach an agreement with Atletico Madrid, a 6-year deal worth around $11 million, making his debut for the Spanish Giants just a week later in a preseason tournament. His competitive debut would come a couple weeks after that against arch-rivals Real Madrid in the Supercopa de España. And on September 27th, Raul Jimenez would score his one and only goal for Atleti in a win against Sevilla. With the slower than expected start and lack of playing time, on August 13th, 2015, Raul would leave Madrid and head to Lisbon, where he would join Benfica. With a fresh start at a new club, Raul knew he had to hit the ground running and make a great impression, scoring his first goal for Benfica against Moreirense in the 75th minute of the match. And just a couple weeks later, he would go on to bag his first 2 goals in the Champions League, after saving Benfica from losing to Astana in the Champions League. Raul would slowly become an integral part of the offense at Benfica, scoring, assisting, and being the spark that they needed off the bench. Raul would earn his first set of silverware as Benfica would be crowned Liga de Portugal champions, and they would win the Taça de la Liga Final. Over the next 2 seasons, Raul was getting solid minutes at Benfica, eventually hitting triple-digit matches for the club. The 2017-18 season would be his final one in Portugal, leaving after 120 appearances and 31 goals for the Portuguese Giants, before being sent out on loan to Wolverhampton, where he would be given a chance to help the newly promoted club stay in the Premier League, a true fight for survival. Raul would make his official debut on August 11th to help scrape a draw against Everton on opening week. Raul's involvement would make an impact, scoring and assisting almost every match. The Mexican striker would make the difference for them in a season where every point would impact their chance for survival. But as the weeks would go by in his first season at Wolverhampton, something odd happened, as they would climb the table and finish the season 7th. Raul would become player of the season as he would score 17 goals in all competitions, finally having the breakout season he always knew he would have once he got to Europe. The amazing season would land Wolves in the Europa League qualifiers, allowing them to fight for European glory in just their second season back up in the Prem. On April 4th, 2019, Wolves would exercise the €38 million option to sign Jimenez from Benfica officially, making the loan move permanent. The following season, Jimenez would show the Wolves fans exactly what the $38 million were going, scoring in Europe and in the league, and having braces and helping Wolves beat top powerhouses like Man City. And although Wolverhampton doesn't have a lot of experience in the Premier League, this season Raul became their top leading Premier League scorer of all time, as he would finish that campaign with 27 goals and even help Wolves reach the quarterfinals of the Europa League, but unfortunately he would miss a penalty, losing to Sevilla, the eventual winners of the whole competition. The following season in 2020-21, it was evident that Raul had found his home in Wolverhampton, being their star man alongside the likes of Pedro Neto, João Moutinho, Adama Traoré, and many others, scoring and assisting consistently throughout the season. On September 14th, 2020, in his 100th appearance for Wolves, Raul would score in the 3rd minute of the match against Sheffield United and be announced the BBC Player of the Match. In the beginning of October, rumors were going rampant about Raul Jimenez, the Mexican striker who had completely overhauled Wolverhampton and had saved them from relegation and even make a long run in the Europa League. The likes of Manchester United, Juventus, and many more teams were interested in the Mexican striker, but on October 3rd, he would sign a 4-year contract extension with Wolves, showing loyalty to the club where he made a name for himself. On November 29th, Wolves would head to the Emirates to play Arsenal in what turned out to be one of the most dangerous games in Premier League history. In just the 5th minute of the match, Raul Jimenez would go up for a header as he often did, but this time it would be different, as when he went for the header, his head would clash with that of David Luiz, resulting into a horrible accident as both players fell to the ground. David seemed responsive, but Raul laid there, almost lifeless, and everybody started to panic as they would gather around the Wolves striker. It immediately became apparent that something just wasn't right. As medical staff approached, they knew something was severely wrong, and they ran to get him off the pitch in a stretcher. It was confirmed the following morning that he had fractured his skull in the clash with Luiz and had required surgery soon after hospitalization, ending his season and perhaps any chances of ever getting back on the pitch again. For any pro footballer, this was the worst news you could ever hear. When the doctors would tell Raul Jimenez that he would never play again, he simply replied, "That's okay, that's what you think, but let me do what I can to prove my point," as he would do everything in his power to get back into training. Thankfully, Raul would make an incredible recovery, as a few months later in the preseason for the 2021-22 season, Raul would make his first appearance since the injury. Unfortunately, he would have to wear a headguard for the rest of his career to avoid further injury and protect the sensitive spots in his skull from getting re-injured. Although there was one huge flaw that was noticed: his confidence. As although he was as ambitious as ever, he hadn't been on the pitch in a long time. After 6 Premier League appearances without a goal, Jimenez would finally score away to Southampton on September 26, 2021. But everybody noticed there was something just a little off with the Mexican striker, as he seemed to be much more hesitant and didn't carry the pace that he used to. Raul would go the rest of the season, typically coming off the bench and getting scraped minutes as he attempted to recover his confidence and get back to his old playing form. To start the 2022-23 season, it was clear that Raul Jimenez was still a top player, but not the same man he used to be, or at the very least was in the biggest slump that he could ever be in, typically coming in for Wolves off the bench, and didn't even score a Premier League goal that season, getting his only 3 goals against Preston North End, Gillingham, and Nottingham Forest in the EFL Cup. This would be Raul's final season in Wolverhampton, having scored 57 goals, 24 assists, and proudly representing Wolves in 166 matches, departing the club but only after becoming a club legend. At this point in his career, many believed he would head to a retirement league or back to Mexico, but Raul would receive an offer from Fulham, possibly his final chance to play top-flight football. Jimenez would make his Fulham debut in the opening round of the 23-24 season for Fulham against Everton, and on November 12th he would score his first Premier League goal in almost 2 years in a loss to Aston Villa. This confidence boost would start a hot streak for Jimenez, scoring in back-to-back wins for Fulham against Nottingham Forest and West Ham United. In December, Jimenez would prove that he could still score against the top 6 as he bagged a goal against Arsenal. Slowly but surely, everyone would witness the return of the pre-injury Raul, as he finished the season with a brace against Luton, sending them back down to the Championship. The 24-25 season, Jimenez would keep his foot on the gas, sneaking into the starting lineup and even scoring in 3 consecutive matches in September. This would place Raul in some great company, as it marked his 100th goal in a European league, making him only the 3rd Mexican in history to do so, alongside Hugo Sanchez and Chicharito. He would go on to complete the season with a few more goals and assists, surpassing Chicharito as the Mexican with the most Premier League goals, marking his legacy in English football history. With it being clear that Raul Jimenez was truly back, he would even earn himself a contract extension with Fulham, guaranteeing him another season at Craven Cottage. During his international career, Raul would score 39 goals for Mexico, representing them at 3 World Cups and taking gold in the 2012 Olympics against Brazil, playing a major role in the 2019 Gold Cup where Mexico would win it all. And most recently, Raul would lead Mexico to a first-place finish in the Nations League, scoring both of Mexico's goals in the final against Panama. Raul's career has been full of ups and downs, but his optimism and love for the game has always seen him overcome any obstacle in his path, with a smile on his face.